minutes or so, but Marc Daniels, voice of UCF Athletics, Hall of Famer, joins us on 365 Sports. In fact, UCF at home tonight against Baylor. We will get to that soon. Marc, thank you. With Craig and Paul, David Smoak, what was the reaction overall, you think, when it comes to what UCF has with their football schedule?
Well, I think a lot of joy among UCF fans because of how attractive the home schedule is. Last year, UCF played 5 conference road games, 4 at home in its first year, and only 6 overall games. So to get 7 back home this year, obviously an attractive non-conference game at Florida, and then just to see some of the brands that are going to be coming to Orlando. Very exciting for UCF fans, both at the start of the Big 12 schedule, certainly at the back end of the Big 12 schedule. UCF fans have always loved a Black Friday game, which for years we played against an rival South Florida. So to get a Black Friday game back again, it's exciting. So overall, it's just been a high level of interest and looking forward to. A lot of fans saying, all right, how do I start booking my flights and start planning my trips?
Marc, UCF has to travel the furthest of anybody in the Big 12, but as kind of a reward, most of the people that are traveling to UCF, that's their longest trip. So the amount of distance traveled to Orlando is going to be. So do you think that kind of works out, like maybe cancel each other out with the travel distances that each side will have to do?
Well, I got to tell you, this travel schedule's nothing to what we just went through. Remember, guys, we went to Boise State this year. We went to Kansas twice this year. So we went to Texas Tech. So nobody did more mileage outside of Hawaii than us this year in college football. So I don't think UCF looks at this as a big travel schedule. And I think as we discussed in the last year, I think for people that are traveling to Orlando, we kind of view us as 4-day weekend destination of those that want to come in on Thursday and enjoy everything that we offer in Orlando. So hopefully they don't view it as a long taxing trip, but an exciting one to come here. So, I think UCF learned last year some of the challenges with travel. We're going through it in basketball now, but really you take a look at next year, I don't think UCF feels like they're a challenge as far as getting up on the plane.
What kind of an adjustment or grind has that been for you, Marc? I mean, I know as a broadcaster you're used to bouncing around, but do you yourself, could you kind of feel the extra miles on those legs with the new schedules?
Well, I think in football, that Boise trip came early, and then we went to Kansas a couple of times in a month, and by the time we get to the end of the season, does it wear on you? Probably a little bit. I think sometimes we in the media may be magnified, as you guys know. Sometimes it's tougher on basketball when you're doing a 4-hour flight. Like we chartered to Kansas State, it's about 3.5 hours and so forth, and then you're flying back and you get home early in the morning, but you'd rather get home than staying over. I don't think it's as big of a challenge, particularly in football, because it's that one flight out and back. Guys, we know it's the other sports that don't charter. That's the challenge, where you're making a stop, you get a 2-hour layover, then you're flying again, and then the same thing on the way back. That's where I think it gets challenging for all of us when you talk about those sports that don't have the benefit of chartering.
Marc, there's no specific rivalries. Kansas State, Iowa State. Baylor and TCU have one pretty good, but with Texas and Oklahoma now gone, there's going to be some new ones that develop. Which one do you think that UCF, which one will be, in your opinion, the one that ends up being their go-to in-conference rival?
Well, we tried in basketball, but that team's leaving the league. So.
Oh, my God. But love it. Love it.
Guys, I think that it will develop in time. It's something that we at UCF have been through a couple of times now. You went to Conference USA, you went to the American, and you develop rivalries. We had a regional rivalry, obviously, with South Florida from a proximity standpoint. So I think it'll happen in time as you begin to play games that mean something towards the conference championship. There are moments that happen, that you remember that spark something. And then geographically, I think we'll learn how this conference begins to build its schedule because of what looks to be 16 for a while. Is Cincinnati and West Virginia going to be on our schedule every single year in football? Are we going to play them twice in basketball? Will the conference think about that when it comes to travel? Obviously, the more you play somebody, the better the chance you have to develop a rivalry there. I think UCF and Cincinnati in football did because of the dominance of both schools towards the back end of our careers in the American. Other rivalries will just have to develop in time, and you never know. Something may happen in a game that makes you go, wow, I can't wait until they play again. I think we're all kind of adjusting to that, but look forward to, matchups. I mean, Utah's coming here on a Black Friday. We have no history with them, but who knows what happens in a Friday game that may spark something in future years. But I think that's all part of what we're going to grow in the next several years.
I did quick research, but would I be correct in saying that of the 4 schools joining this year, that the only history UCF has is one game against Arizona State, and the other 3 would all be first-time ever matchups?
That would be correct. And when we went to Arizona State, that was when we were in the MAC. And we went out and they said it hadn't rained in like 300 days in the Phoenix, Tempe area. Of course, Friday night, it was like the end of the world with a rainstorm. And we played on Saturday, and there was this defensive end for Arizona State called Terrell Suggs. And he destroyed our quarterback, Ryan Snyder, and broke a couple of his ribs. We had a bye week, then came back and played a short week for our first ever MAC game at Marshall. And Ryan gutted it out to get out there and played, and that was against a really talented Byron Leftwich Marshall team. UCF hung around before falling late. So that's our memory of going out there to play Arizona State. We'd like to think that we have a special relationship with the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, playing a couple of Fiesta Bowls out there, not to bring up old wounds, but, going out there twice. So our fans know the trip and hopefully are excited for that trip. But you are correct. There's no other connection on the football field between the schools. We played at Colorado basketball years ago. We played at Arizona in a tournament years ago. But as far as football, Arizona State's the only one that we played.
Mark, is the excitement growing for KJ Jefferson?
Yeah, there's no question about it. Guys, we're learning each year about how the transfer portal works, how it can change a roster, how schools identify needs. And, it's interesting. UCF, who was very public, was, out there pursuing a few players. It was well noted and documented that Grayson McCall was here at UCF. It was at a basketball game. He chose to go someplace else. And I mean, no disrespect to him, but, maybe UCF was better off not getting Grayson and getting KJ Jefferson in the sense that he might fit Gus Malzahn's offense better than anybody else that was out there. I've met KJ a couple of times. He's big. I mean, he's a legit 6'4", 250. He loves the offense that Gus runs here. Gus obviously sold him on being like a Cam Newton-type player in the offense. I think he found it appealing. The players coming back like R.J. Harvey, a couple of the wide receivers, some additions that UCF made on the offensive line. So I think Gus feels like he's got the perfect quarterback for the system that he wants to run. KJ's excited because he, wanted, I think, a fresh start and a new opportunity. And I think he feels like he can help UCF make that next step in the Big 12. And, I think he's got some weapons around him. I thought UCF, from a defensive standpoint, guys, really addressed some of the needs that they had coming through the year of the Big 12. We talked about during the season, you learn about the quality and size of linebackers and safeties. And, UCF went hard on that linebacker side, found some guys that have started at P5 programs, led the team in tackles, team captains. So I think they felt like they upgraded there, the offensive line as well. UCF was among the most aggressive and active teams in the Big 12 and in the country in the portal. Now, does it pay off? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
All right, tonight, UCF at home against Baylor. Baylor's on a 3-game losing streak, 3 games down to the wire. Obviously, you mentioned that win against Texas and Austin. Your thoughts where UCF is now as they host the Bears, who are in the top 20 but hanging on by a thread?
Should be a great environment. UCF's last 3 home games drawn the first 2 over 9,000. There's a sellout for Kansas, very close for BYU, and just about 9,000 for West Virginia. Expect a similar crowd tonight. Great respect for Baylor. Obviously, as you mentioned, they've lost 3 heartbreaking basketball games, so UCF doesn't view them as a team that's really struggling. We were undermanned at Cincinnati, missing 2 starters. We may be out those 2 starters again tonight, so it's going to be a real challenge. But UCF's going to have to play great defense, depending on who you look at. Their top 10 defensive team efficiency, the way they defend people. They'll have to defend really, really well tonight to try to slow down the number 1 offense in the Big 12. So if UCF's going to win a game, it might have to be in the 60s, low 70s, the way Baylor plays. They'll need to get the crowd involved early and have some guys play maybe a little bit above what you expect from an offensive standpoint in some of those role players. But Johnny Dawkins' team in all 7 conference games, UCF, they're 3-4. You know what the record is. They played hard in 6 of those 7 games defensively. The Kansas State opener, they just were a bit overwhelmed. But every other game, they've been able to match the physicality of the game. They're able to defend well. You just got to get some shots to fall. They've run in this league every single night. It's such a grind, such a physical game. It's awesome. UCF fans love it. We're learning what you guys know, why it's the best conference in the country. And it gets no easier for anybody. UCF's got 4 straight ranked teams coming up. We got Baylor tonight, Oklahoma on Saturday. Go to Texas Tech, go to BYU. And you know what? Wouldn't have it any other way. It's awesome.
Thank you, Mark. Good luck tonight. Marc Daniels, voice of UCF Athletics, with us on 365 Sports. Baylor at 6 o'clock, tip against UCF.